Well, good morning. Welcome to lesson 97. I'm Spirit, using the white edition of A Course in Miracles. And I've had people asking me, quite a lot of people now asking me, where do I get the white edition? And what difference is it to other editions? The difference is just very basically, there is a video on the website, but explaining the particulars, but just very basically, everything of man has been taken out. So in the early editions through other publishers, a lot of subtext numerics was put in, capitalization, chapterization, things like that, so that it broke up the book into what you would call manageable or studyable components. And all of that has been taken out because we're not attempting to master or study in the same way conceptually that we would, let's say, a scientific document. We're attempting to hear, attempting to allow in a living message that has been channeled through a scribe, Helen Schuckman, specifically as part of a activating agency to bring about the awakening procedure and the speed up of that awakening procedure in our minds to help us attain self-realization and liberation from the cycles of reincarnation in the temporal realm, where our minds appear to be fixed on this dream of death, so that we can transcend that and get on with the journey of our soul, which can take billions of years apparently, and billions more to come. So these lessons are invaluable. And I love the responses that I'm getting back from people, so thank you for that, saying that the white edition to read it is so different from other editions in that regard, that it reads like as if you're being talked to by Jesus directly. And when I read this, not particularly in this frame, because this is the workbook, which is no different to the sparkly, the blue, and whatever other, the workbook is identical, but in the text, it's just, I can't explain it. You have to read it for yourself. So, lesson 97, I'm Spirit. Today's idea identifies you with your one self. It accepts no split identity, nor tries to weave opposing factors into unity. Pardon me. It simply states the truth. Practice this truth today. Thank you. Practice this truth today as often as you can, for it will bring your mind from conflict to the quiet fields of peace. No chill of fear can enter, for your mind has been absolved from madness, letting go illusions of a split identity. We state again the truth about yourself, the Holy Son of God who rests in you, whose mind has been restored to sanity. You are the Spirit, lovingly endowed with all your Father's love and peace and joy. You are the Spirit which completes himself and shares his function as creator. He is with you always as you are with him. Today we try to bring reality still closer to your mind. Each time you practice, awareness is brought a little nearer, at least. Sometimes 1,000 years or more are saved. Each time you practice, 1,000 years. That's Jesus telling you 1,000 years are saved sometimes. It's like the nature of that practice. As I attempt to collapse my thought system, my temporal thought system, through the atonement principle, which is forgiving myself for the meaning that I've put into my external frame of reference in an attempt to verify myself as this body, as this fleshy carcass thing. As I be about that, the collapse through that healing, the collapse of my interactive tendencies with that specific framework are released from my mind, and a particular pattern of activity of thought which may have spanned thousands of years is snipped out. It's like a bad habit that could have carried on throughout my entire, let's say in this particular incarnation, like, I don't know, whatever a bad habit is, that might have taken me an entire lifetime to overcome, gets snipped out, and the time that I've used in participating in that bad habit is suddenly freed up for salvation's purposes and simply erased from my timeline, collapsing the entirety of my timeline from the alpha to the omega to help me bring the entirety of my time sequence into the here and the now. The past and the future, boom, shankar. I hope that makes sense. We're collapsing time here. Each time you practice, awareness is brought a little nearer at least. Sometimes 1,000 years or more are saved. The minutes which you give are multiplied over and over, for the miracle makes use of time but is not ruled by it. Right? This is incredible. So for those of you who know the story of my enlightenment, when I entered the room and then everything vanished and I found myself back in eternity, and when I came back to the room, I found myself at the other end of the room somehow. I don't know, because my body was totally gone. Pardon me. My experience of self, of oneness, of I in he and he in me, if I had to time it, if I'd had a stopwatch, because I had no body, no nothing that's gone, was just a few seconds, 4 or 5 seconds at most. And yet, when I found myself back, let's say, in the body, reanimating this vessel to use for this purpose, in that room, I found myself laying face down on the carpet at the other end of the room, and over half an hour had gone by. So time as a reference within the framework of the temporal associations of things is completely different to time, in the non-temporal sequence of things, or in the non-temporal, how do you talk about it? No idea. Let's get on with the lesson. Salvation is a miracle, the first and last, the first that is the last, for it is one. You are the spirit in whose mind abides the miracle in which all time stands still. The miracle in which a minute spent in using these ideas becomes a time which has no length and which has no end. That's true. Give then these minutes willingly and count on him who promised to lay timelessness beside them. He will offer all his strength to every little effort which you make. Give him the minutes which he needs today to help you understand. With him you are the spirit that abides in him and which calls through his voice to every living thing, offers his sight to everyone who asks, replaces error with the simple truth. The Holy Spirit will be glad to take 5 minutes of each hour from your hands and carry them around this aching world where pain and misery appear to rule. He will not overlook one open mind that will accept the healing gift they bring. There's the key word, accept, that will accept the healing gift they bring, and he will lay them everywhere. He knows they will be welcome. And I don't know if you remember the principles of miracles, where miracles are performed by and for believers. If you're one of these associations out there saying, I'll believe that when I see it, well, sorry about that. I would recommend that you start taking leaps of faith in your life so that you can begin to see that there is a higher power supporting you. And even though you may not have specific reference for that higher power at that stage, at least you will begin to be able to question your previous disposition regarding the nature of life as being something that you must struggle through and all the rest of it. Faith. Just walk out your front door and don't come back. There you go. Take nothing with you. That's faith. And they will increase in healing power each time someone accepts them as his thoughts and uses them to heal. Thus will your gift to him be multiplied 1,000-fold and tens of thousands more. And when it is returned to you, it will surpass in might the little gift you gave, as much as does the radiance of the sun outshine the tiny gleam a firefly makes an uncertain moment and goes out. The steady brilliance of this light remains and leads you out of darkness, nor will you be able to forget the way again. It's true. In the moment in our meditative practices together, in the moment where you still the mind and slip, remember that whoosh? That you feel it happening. In the moment you slip into the light like that, you won't forget how to do that the next time. It's like, well, hang on a minute, I just got to still my mind. All I have to do is not listen to this chattering thoughts that seems to be going around and around, and train myself to stay still. Be still and know that I am God. Inverted commas. The steady brilliance of this light remains and leads you out of darkness, nor will you be able to forget the way again. Begin these happy exercises with the words the Holy Spirit speaks to you, and let them echo round the world through him. Spirit am I, a holy Son of God, free of all limits, safe and healed and whole, free to forgive and free to save the world. Expressed through you, the Holy Spirit will accept this gift which you received of him. Thank you. Increase its power and give it back to you. Offer each practice period today gladly to him, and he will speak to you, reminding you that you are spirit, one with him and God, your brothers and yourself. Listen for his assurance every time you speak the words he offers you today, and let him tell your mind that they are true. Use them against temptation and escape its sorry consequences if you yield to the belief that you are something else. The Holy Spirit gives you peace today. Receive his words and offer them to him. And I like the memory I have of when I first picked up this book many, many years ago and did the workbook for myself, for my own personal alignment, let's say, or healing, having had the revelation that the Father and the Son are one, attempting to carry this from the formal kind of setting where in the spiritual community where I was learning this, attempting to carry that out into a world where this is consciously and actively denied was very tricky. And there was a period where I realized that I had to stand on the corner in my hometown and hand out, I wrote out these little white fold over paper things, just very simple little tiny things, handwritten, and I photocopied a lot of them that had little hearts and things. And I knew I had to stand there on that busy street corner with all the people that were walking past, looking into the shops and things, and be the one alternative. And I did it for 3 days straight. I had to be the one alternative there. It was just kind of a declaration that I knew I had to make so that I could come to terms with myself of carrying and accepting that I am spirit. Even though I'd already had the experience, my ego is incredibly fueled up by that experience and attempted to corrupt it. And I knew I had to do whatever was necessary to force myself, let's say, or to push myself, to activate myself, to represent the alternative to what my ego was attempting me to believe, which was that experience that I had couldn't possibly be God because I'm going to die and all these things that were really in my head at that time. And there was this, what would you call it? This, not really a conflict. There was this constant coming back, which was automatic. I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing for months, actually, after my enlightenment, about probably 6 months. I would be in the supermarket and just spontaneously burst out laughing. Driving my car and I would be laughing. Anything, just start laughing. And there was this kind of like tick-tocking effect, between when a pendulum or what's that, to keep time, and it'd be, my thoughts would just be distracted, and then the nature of the distraction would sort of flick it back the other way, back to God, and I would true up here. It wasn't this or that, it was boom, there. And I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone, but it was an incredible time. But that, carrying that message, I am spirit, I am one with you. All right, now, if you've ever been to Australia and you've been to Byron Bay is a very, or it used to be, I haven't been there for 20 years, but a very, what you would call a spiritual community, I guess, and an awakening community. And there are many, many people that you will find there who will gladly embrace you upon this context as brother or as kindred spirit, that sort of thing. And to the point where even in the main community hall area, the main statue that the community has chosen for it to represent the community spirit of the town is two people embracing in a hug, which I think that's beautiful. All right, I love you, and peace.